Guys, it's Christmas! Hello, Internet. This is Olin from What I'm Listening To. It's Christmas time, and it's this time of year that I have an assorted amount of albums, some of which are Christmas themed, obviously, but some of which are not really Christmas themed. They're more things that I associate with Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year, probably everybody's favorite time of the year, but I love Christmas. I love the holiday season, especially now that I'm in San Francisco. It's really cool to see the city decked out in Christmas lights and holiday cheer. So let's get started with some of the music that I associate with the holidays. Starting things off, I've talked about this in a past vlog, but this is A Charlie Brown Christmas. This album makes me think of my family, and we would put this album on while my brother and I would decorate the Christmas tree and decorate the house with stockings and lights. Not to mention, the cartoon is an absolute classic. It's pretty much one of the things that I grew up watching.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
We might even have the cassette tapes somewhere in our house. I don't know, but if we don't, I might have to get the DVD version. But yes, this is classic album. Vince Guaraldi's music is wonderful, and this album means so much to me. So when I moved out, I had to get a proper copy of my own, and I have it here. So Charlie Brown Christmas, Vince Guaraldi. I love this album so much. Going off on the jazz theme, this is an album, Tim Duenas Presents Latin Christmas. I guarantee you nobody has heard of this, and that's just because it's the jazz band that my dad is in. Tim is a very close friend to our family. He's a magnificent person, and he's an absolutely fantastic piano player. So him, my dad, who plays bass, and their friend Dave on drums, put together this album. This actually might even be their very first release of Christmas songs done in the style of Latin jazz. It's got the classics on here. Have Yourself a Merry Christmas, Christmas Time is Here, Baby It's Cold Outside. But yeah, so this was an album that they recorded years and years and years ago. Let's see, 2008. So I hadn't even graduated high school yet. But it's an album that's been in our family for a while. It's a beautiful album. Their music is fantastic. I'll include a link to wherever you can access their music. I highly recommend checking them out, and not because I know everybody in the band personally, but their music I think is tremendous. So if you're a fan of Latin jazz, then definitely give this one a listen. Alright, next up here, I have CeeLo's Magic Moment. This album is just so much fun, and it was released around the time when The Lady Killer came out. CeeLo's music was already really popular, so he timed this quite nicely. Once again, it's got all the classics. It's got Baby It's Cold Outside featuring Christina Aguilera. It's got This Christmas, it's got White Christmas. But my personal favorite songs on here, one of them is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which is just him on vocals, and Straight No Chaser, which is an a cappella group providing all the music.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel.
And the other song is All I Need Is Love, which features the Muppets. Hearing CeeLo and the Muppets interact with one another is just so much fun to hear, and the song is just as good. I'll admit it's kind of corny for a relevant musician to put out an all-Christmas album, but considering how much I love CeeLo, I love his voice, I think his vocal delivery is really cool. I had to pick this one up when it came out, so this one is a classic one to listen to for Christmas. It's so much fun, and I highly recommend checking it out.
All I need is you, baby. All I need is you, baby. All I need is la la la.
The next Christmas-themed thing I have here comes in the form of a movie. This is Christmas on Mars. This is a movie put together by the Flaming Lips. Mostly their frontman Wayne is the mastermind behind it, but it features the band members as well as some of their friends like Steve Burns, who was the star from Blue's Clues. Wayne built this giant spaceship in his backyard, which they filmed all the interior stuff. Not sure if they did the exterior stuff there too, I don't know, but it's such a weird, bizarre movie, but it's very similar to their music, which is also weird and bizarre. This was actually a gift I got from my girlfriend because she loves the Flaming Lips, and after we watched a documentary of them and saw that they were making this movie, we thought, we have to get our hands on this. I don't even think we finished the movie. I think we watched half of it, but we were both insanely tired, and we thought, what the fuck is going on in this movie? But because it's Christmas, we're gonna sit down and actually finish the movie. It's so bizarre, but we love the Flaming Lips, we love Wayne and his weirdness, and the soundtrack is equally as good. So yeah, if you're looking for something weird and sci-fi and bizarre, this is definitely a movie worth checking out.
In outer space on the surface of Mars, a futuristic baby is being born. But the oxygen generator blows up.
Keep that idiot away from the wire!
And the gravity control pod is needing adjustment.
Alright, the next things here aren't necessarily Christmas themed, but they are things I associate with Christmas. And starting things off, we have Coldplay's Mylo Xyloto. This is the album that came out after Viva La Vida, which is an amazing record. It's probably one of their most famous records. But this one marked a bit of a change in their sound. They started incorporating synthy bass and drums and kind of incorporating some electronic production. Initially, I wasn't sure how I felt about this just because I loved Viva La Vida so much, but over time, the stuff on here grew on me. Two songs on this album in particular that remind me of Christmas are Paradise and Charlie Brown. Back when this album came out, I was attending junior college in my hometown. I was taking a math class that got out at about 7 o'clock at night, and when I would drive home, I drove through this neighborhood that had all these houses decorated with Christmas lights. And something about listening to Paradise while seeing all the lights was just an amazing feeling. The two things just went hand in hand, and now every time I hear Paradise, I think of all the Christmas lights that are in that neighborhood. Charlie Brown was the same way, but it was more in the sense of I associate it with Vince Guaraldi. Going back to Charlie Brown Christmas, Charlie Brown, even though they don't even mention Charlie Brown, just had this kind of blues to it that reminded me very, very much of Vince's delivery on the piano. But yes, it's a great album. If you're a fan of Coldplay, this is definitely a great album. To me, this was the last good one they put out. I wasn't a big fan of their later releases, but regardless, this is a Christmas album in my heart, and I love it.
All the boys, all the girls, all the letters in the world. All the boys, all the girls, all the letters that are cursed.
Alright, next up, this is actually going to be a CDR here. This is a Wendy and Carl album. Wendy and Carl are a duo. I believe they're actually married, and they make beautifully crafted ambient music, some of which ranges from space music to emphasis on drone, but overall their songs are just insanely well crafted. There's two songs that they have that are actually Christmas themed called Snowing and Christmas Song that they released for free on their Bandcamp. A couple years back, I was super into their music, and this album is actually instrumentals for the brokenhearted. I'd just gotten this, and I downloaded those two free songs, and after listening to them, I felt inspired to go out and just go look at Christmas lights. Much like Paradise, something about pairing ambient music with looking at the lights was just such a perfect moment. And because of that, I try to dedicate at least one evening where I go out into a neighborhood, look at Christmas lights, and listen to some sort of ambient music. These two are definitely one of my favorite ambient bands out there. I highly recommend checking out their stuff. They've released stuff off Cranky, which you know how I feel about Cranky. I love everything they put out. This album is fantastic. Instrumentals for the Brokenhearted, which is instrumental songs from their album, Songs from the Brokenhearted. Go check that out. Go check out their 2 Christmas songs. They're on their Bandcamp. They're wonderful. Listen. The next album I have here, not necessarily a Christmas album, but Nightwish Once. I've had this album forever. It's one of the oldest records in my collection, and to this very day, I love it. They are a power metal band that incorporates orchestral elements to the music, so there's this really dramatic, symphonic sounding music that's also very heavy. Not to mention the vocalist who's in this band has an incredibly gorgeous voice. And actually, I think the vocalist that's on this album is no longer in the band. They've since got a new vocalist, but regardless, her voice is awesome. And it was one of the first metal albums I'd heard that incorporated an orchestra. Back then, I always thought metal was just heavy and loud and angry, but this was something completely different. I think it's the orchestral elements of this album that really make me think of Christmas. This particular album, I think, is their best. It's got so many great songs. Dark Chest of Wonders, Wish I Had an Angel, Nemo, Ghost Love Score. I highly recommend checking out this album, or just checking out this band in general. Their music is phenomenal and beautiful. Once, Nightwish. The next album I have here, this is a band called H.I.M, and this is their album Dark Light. Yet again, another very old album in my collection. I've had this since, senior year of high school. Their music is just so emotional and dark, but not necessarily heavy. I think the band describes their music as love rock. I don't know about that. Regardless, I like this album a lot. Great songs on here. Vampire Heart, Rip Out the Wings of a Butterfly, Under the Rose, Killing Loneliness. Yeah, that was the first song I ever heard by them. Not really a Christmassy album in any sort of way, but for whatever reason, I was listening to this one holiday season, and now when I listen to it, I can't help but to think of Christmas. So I got nothing else to say about it other than I associate this with Christmas. It's rock, it's dark, it's just interesting and cool.
With the warmth of your arms, you save me. Oh, I'm killing loneliness with you. The killing loneliness that turned my heart into a...
And the last item I have here is a cassette. This is an audio tape of the Polar Express. This means so much to me and my family. This is one of the big things I associate with Christmas. For as long as I can remember, my dad, my brother, and I, on Christmas Eve, would sit together and read the Polar Express book along with this tape. To this very day, we still do that. And it's just amazing because since then they've released a movie adaptation to the book. They even have a new audiobook version as read by Liam Neeson.
Well, he said, are you coming? Where? I asked. Why, to the North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express.
But this is the best one to me, and this is probably super old. This may even be older than me, but it's a very cherished item within our family. Again, every single year we read this book. Even this year, we plan on reading this book. So I'm excited to sit down and re-listen to this. This is a wonderful thing to have, and it's one of the things that I associate with Christmas.
The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!"
Okay, Internet, that does it for me. Hey, if you have any albums or bands you want me to check out, particularly anything that's Christmassy, things that you like to listen to for Christmas, whether or not it's Christmas themed, leave a comment down below, and if I like it, maybe I will include it in a vlog. But until then, this is Olin from What I'm Listening To, signing out. Goodbye, and Merry Christmas.
Christmas magic, all the cold, hungry people. Christmas magic, are dying in the street.